She's wearing a dead bird on her head. This is an interesting book already by the title. Harriet Henway was a very proper Boston lady. She never talked with her mouth full. But one day she almost did. Standing by the bay window in her parlor, she had just bitten into a jam cookie when her eyes sprang open in dismay. She gasped, leaned forward, swallowed, then turned to her parlor maid. Oh, we got maids, though. I'm peanut butter and jealous of this lady. Feathers on ladies' hats were becoming more and more popular. At first, hats had been decorated with just feathers, and then designers began to add pairs of wings. But this woman had an entire bird perched on top her hat. Harriet squinted her eyes at the lady of fashion walked proudly by. "Arctic tern, I believe," Harriet whispered. "Looks ready to fly away," said the parlor maid. "It won't," Harriet replied sadly. Harriet felt she had to do something. Huge populations of birds, from egrets to pheasants to owls to warblers, were being slaughtered for a hat decoration. None were spared, not even pigeons. But what could she do? Women in 1896 had very little power. I was born in 1986. That is a long time ago. They could not vote. They had many had husbands who did not allow them to make decisions for themselves. That's why mommy's still single, because no. Some women were not even allowed to read newspaper. Harriet's husband, Augustus, did not treat her this way. Dude, if I wasn't allowed to read, I'd go psycho. But she and other women like her wanted to change things for all women. She wanted to do something for the birds. Fashion was killing the birds as well as killing women's chance to have the right to vote and be listened to. For who would listen to a woman with a dead bird on her head? I kind of feel her a little bit on that, because I would be so distracted by looking at the bird on your head that I wouldn't even know what's coming out of your mouth. The senseless slaughter for a silly fashion was not stopped. In a few years, the birds with the prettiest feathers would be all dead, gone, forever, kaput, extinct. Extinct means there's no more of that species left. "I must call Cousin Minna," Harriet said grimly. Click, 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 click. The heels of Miss Minna's high but toned shoes beat a quick rhythm against the bricks of the sidewalk. Her blue eyes were bright as they searched for the bare limbs of the trees that lined the avenue for yellow finches that appeared like spots of flittering gold on this winter day. Their quick golden flight swelled her heart. Click, 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 click. She could not be late for tea at Harriet's. This was too important. Click, 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 click. Miss Hall's feet froze in their tracks. Straight ahead, there was indeed a pair of golden wings, but they neither had a head nor body attached. They were pinned instead to the crown of a lady's hat, and the brim was a swirl of a snowy egret's feathers. Oh, look at her face. She's kind of pissed. What's up? What's the struggle there, lady? Revolting, the single word rumbled down Commonwealth Avenue The single word rumbled down Commonwealth Avenue as noisily as a cannonball loose on a ship's wreck. "Me?" the fashionable lady squeaked in dismay. You heartless creature. That bird should be slaughtered just to make you feel pretty? Yuck." Minna made a scolding sound deep in the back of her throat. And look at this. They're killing a bird right there, and the cat's playing with it. She's like, "Moi? Oh no, you're not talking about me." And she's got fur on, and she's got stripes and polka dots. Ma'am. And then this guy, look at him. He's like, "I don't want to get into it. I don't want to know what's going on. Cat fight, cat fight." When Minna stormed into the parlor, Harriet was preparing tea. "Well, Harriet," Minna explained as she pulled off her felt cap. You know what? Okay, no, the cat was Tripping. From Arlington Street to Clarendon, 3 egrets, 1 marabou, 2 grebes, 1 golden finch, and Minna paused. Her cousin, Minna paused. Minna paused. Her cousin waited nervously, the teacup clattering in her saucer she was holding. A hummingbird. Oh no, Minna. Oh yes, Harriet. Perched in full flight on a bunch of silk roses with a veil. Disgusting, revolting, nauseating, vile. Those words flew through the air like red hot cinders. Well, let's get down to business. Do you have the book? Sounds like an episode of Charmed. Yes, right here. Harriet Hemingway walked over to a shelf in the parlor and took down a large blue volume. The words Boston Social Register were written across the cover in gold letters. The book was a list of all the grandest families in Boston. They opened the book and with pencils in hand, they began to scan the list of families, starting with A. Mrs. Appleton, quite fashionable. Indeed, a peafowl with a few warbler feathers at tea last week. Bancroft? Marabou fan and hat to match at the opera. Finally, they got to Z. Miss Zacharias, egrets and warblers with a touch of flamingo, I do believe. Luncheon at Somerset Hotel. Why can't they just go to these bird habitats and just pick up the random feathers off the ground? I don't know. Dear, Minna moaned and sipped the last of her tea. What shall we do? Well, Harriet scratched her head. We have garden clubs and history clubs. Why not form a bird club? Not just to watch birds, no, but to protect them and stop the senseless murdering for fashion. What a wonderful idea, said Minna. Let's do it. Let's start a club for birds. Right then, they began to write letters to all the Boston ladies of fashion who wore the plumage of birds, imploring them to put aside their fancy hats and swirls of owl feathers, breasts of gerbes, wings of hummingbirds, and plumes of egrets instead, and join a society dedicated to protecting all the birds. This was their first informal meeting of the Audubon Society, named after a man they admired, John Audubon. They gonna find another word? Really? A famous painter of birds. So how are they just gonna use his name though? He didn't say he was a part of that. I guess. Harriet and Minna were very persuasive. They convinced women not only that killing birds was wrong, but the birds as decoration made them look silly. So many of the fashionable ladies of Boston to whom they had written letters did join the society. Yeah, all those feathers and stuff, look at this hat. This is a hot mess. A hot mess. For the club to accomplish its goals, however, Harriet and Minna knew it also needed men. Smart, powerful men who could vote and go to public places like state legislators and halls of Congress in Washington, D.C. So they asked lawyers and doctors, sportsmen, and bird experts to join too. Can I interject and say we don't need men? They needed men back then because men had all the rights. But now, chaboo, we don't even need them to procreate anymore. Cut it. At the second meeting of the Audubon, we're going to give him another name because Audubon, Audubon. I don't like that name. So we're going to call him Adobo. At the second meeting of the Adobo Society, Harriet and Minna and the new members have made up rules for their club. I think, said one gentleman, that there should be an exception made for ducks. What kind of exception? Harriet asked. We want to hunt them, replied another gentleman. Just like a dude. They always trying to kill something. Rules are rules, fueled Minna. Sportsmen aren't special, another woman said, and stamped her foot. The women won. There will be no killing of ducks or game birds. All the members devised a plan to get the word out on birds to everyone, and the bird hat campaign of the Adobo Society began in earnest. Just like some dudes, they always trying to kill something though. I mean, if you're gonna hunt it to eat it, okay. And then you have to like do something. Let's not waste the feathers. But don't kill it just for the feathers, because that's all kinds of messed up. I don't want nobody killing me just for my weave. They decided to bring their cause to the children of the state of Massachusetts. So into the schools they went. Minna, Harriet, and other members of society. In Florida, heaps of birds, strips of their feathers, are left dying on the ground. Harriet told one class of children, holding up the photograph of a pile of dead egrets. Oh, that's messed up. What happened to their babies, the ones left in the nest? A student asked. I would be that student. The ones that are too young to fly are left to die. So you see, we need your help. The birds need your help to protect them against the plume hunters and hat makers. Please join our club. Soon there were over 10,000 junior members of the Adobo Society in the state of Massachusetts. And Adobo societies were formed in other states. More children joined. See, look at you guys. Kids, their voice can be heard too. This is just a picture of those baby egrets that were stuck in there. And then the hunter shoots the mama for the feathers. Not nice. Not nice. The membership in Boston continued to grow, and the meetings were always lively. The orange groves in Florida this year are suffering because there are too many dead hummingbirds on the hats and not enough in the groves eating the pests that spoil the fruit, said Miss Harriet Richards, the secretary of the society. Said Miss Harriet Richards, the secretary of the society. Let's get to the farmers on our side. Send out a letter, Minna said. Wow, the ladies look so big though. Do we have some more apple pie? Oh wait, okay, sorry. Let's start that again. Do have some more apple pie, Harriet offered, and be happy it's not a songbird pie, a specialty in some places, I'm told. All of the members stopped eating and looked at the apple pie on their plates. Ghastly, whispered Mr. William Brewster, and for one awful minute they all imagined songbirds instead of apples in their pies. Warblers, nightingales, and robins. I think, Minna slowly setting down her plate, we better start getting some laws passed. I think these are the birds they're imagining in their pie. Which, I mean, nothing really messes up my appetite. I was like, whipped cream, please. You gonna eat that? What about you? You gonna eat that? Take it home, eat it later. Put some whipped cream on it later. Okay. In the club, everybody was equal. The men and the women of the society wrote up their ideas together and sent the gentlemen to talk to the legislators in the State House and to members of Congress in Washington, D.C. to press for the passage of laws to save birds. They were successful. An act passed in 1903 to protect herons and bitterns, two popular hat birds, from hat makers, forbidding them to sell, display, or possess the feathers. In 1904, there was another victory when a law passed to protect shore, marsh, and beach birds. Well, how cool is that? Ladies getting it done. All the single ladies. Okay, they were married, but still. Who run the world? Girls. There we go. Soon there were laws against hunting birds during their breeding seasons, which is kind of messed up. Like, they're trying to get their freak on, and then they shooting them. And then they trying to raise their babies, and then they shooting them. I mean, that's all kinds of messed up. For some feathers. You better draw some. Anyway. And then a federal law was passed preventing the importation of the feathers from Europe to the tropics for hats. The word about birds had spread all the way to England, where the Queen Victoria had announced that she would never again wear feathers for fashion, which is called pretty big to have the Queen say it. But Minna and Harriet were still far from happy. What good is a law if it isn't enforced? Minna moaned one day as she stood looking out the window as a woman passing by with a pheasant's wing raking the air above her. You can't arrest a lady for wearing the hat. But you can't arrest the supplier for the feather, Harriet said. She tapped her head lightly as if to get a little jostle to her brains. There are rumors about secret feather warehouses, she spoke softly. I think we should make a few inquiries. Oh, these ladies are about to get up in your business. So the two ladies with Harriet's husband, Augustus, took the train to New York City, where they were not so well known. They got as gussied up as two Boston ladies who loved birds and hated fashion they could manage. They sashayed down Fifth Avenue in fancy dresses, wore elaborate hats with streamers and ribbons, but no feathers. Into the fanciest hat store, the two cousins and Augustus Hemingway pranced. Where they at? Where that ladies at? Okay, here they go. There they go, prancing into the store with their unfeathered hats. I want to buy my wife and dear cousin each a hat, a feathered hat, Augustus announced. The sale people began fluttering around a preposterous-looking threesome. What will it be, madams? Egrets or doves? A dear little cloche-covered... Wait, what are we doing? A dear little cloche covered with owl feathers or a broad-rimmed hat with an Arctic turn. Is it not spectacular on blue felt, just as if it was plunging into the sea? I don't like that. The two ladies swallowed their disgust and muffled their anger. After all, there were more important things at stake. By the end of the shopping expedition, they, alas, had to buy two hats, but they also had the name of the feather supplier with a warehouse in Baltimore where millions of dead birds and tons of plumes were stored. With this information, they went directly to the authorities. So, this lady looks like she gets commission and very happy to sell that. Soon after, on a rainy May day, the cousins sat sipping tea. Harriet had just bitten into a crisp wafer when a tidal wave Augustus burst into a parlor. Ladies! He held the newspaper aloft in his hand. You won! We what? Said Minna. She and Harriet held her breath. Won, dear cousin, dear wife. 26,000 illegal gullskins destined for hats of fashion were seized last night from the Baltimore warehouse. They have shut it down, taken the skins, and arrested the owner. Augustus paused. His rain-slick face beamed with pride. The law has been enforced. I like, thanks for that news, but kindly step back with your muddy little feet, take that crap off on the porch, and try that again. Come back in, dry. Thank you. Minna looked at her cousin. Harriet, we won! But Harriet said nothing. For Harriet, Hemingway never spoke with her mouth full, even if she won. She wouldn't do well in our house because we talk mouthful of all kinds of stuff. Passies, food, drinks, ice cream. So, that's the end of the book.